What's going on, everybody, and welcome into the Point After with Mitch Kaiser. I'm your host, Mitch Kaiser. Happy Monday. Today got Mock Draft Monday for you today. Like I said, we're entering draft season now, officially kicking off with a Mock Draft Monday for you today. The Mitch Mock 2.0. Did my Mitch Mock 1.0 about a month ago before the national championship. So going to do this one now, following up the Super Bowl now that we know the official draft order. And then we're going to preview the Combine on Wednesday with Mike Renner. Going to have Mike Renner from CBS Sports on, their lead draft analyst, one of my good buddies. And we're going to preview that. And then next week we will be at the Combine itself in Indianapolis. And then following Combine week, we're going to do a different Mock Draft Monday with a new guest on every week. So should be a good time. Can't wait to do that. Today, I got the PFF Mock Draft Simulator in front of you guys on screen here, so you don't have to look at my face this time. Much better this time around. I know last time it was just me on camera, so we can look at the actual simulator this time. You guys can see the big board. If you have any disagreements with the big board rankings and the player rankings, you can go yell at Trevor Sigma from PFF. He is their lead draft analyst. He's in charge of the big board here, so... cool. Let's get into it. We're going to do a full first round mock draft for all 32 teams here. And let's get started here. So pick number 1, Las Vegas Raiders. You are on the clock. I think everyone in the world knows who they're picking here. They're going to go with quarterback Fernando Mendoza from the Indiana Hoosiers, the Heisman winner, the national champion, and soon to be number 1 pick. That one's been a lock for a month now, so you can order the Mendoza jersey. No need to overthink it. So congrats to the Raiders and congrats to Mendoza, who will be the number 1 pick. And they got Tom Brady's got his new franchise QB. So, all right, moving on. Number 2, Jets. So this is where a lot of people will want the Jets to take a quarterback, or obviously the Jets need a franchise QB. I think they are so far away from taking a quarterback, or I just think the roster is so far away from competing that you shouldn't take a quarterback and you're not ready. I would wait till next year when the class is way deeper at quarterback, because you're not taking Ty Simpson 2nd overall. I love Ty Simpson as a prospect. I do think he's a first rounder, but not worth the 2nd overall pick. I would load up at other positions here. Arvell Reese is a guy who has the highest ceiling among all pass rushers in the draft. I know he's a more of a linebacker. Plays in the box, but also plays on the D-line. Finished with, I believe, 6.5 sacks for the Buckeyes. So his ceiling as a pass rusher, the freakish tools he has, I think Arvell Reese is going to go 2nd overall to the Jets. I wouldn't hate them taking Bain. I think Bain is that good, but I do think they're more likely to go Arvell Reese from Ohio State. All right, number 3. Arizona Cardinals are on the clock here, and they need a lot as well because they have a quarterback conundrum, because you don't really know if Kyler Murray is going to be there for the long term. It sounds like they're headed towards a divorce, but again, I would not take Ty Simpson or a quarterback here. I would work on the line, the O-line specifically. They need a right tackle. Obviously, they have Paris Johnson on the left tackle, who's going to be their franchise left tackle. We just saw how Francis Mauigoa looked in the playoff run for Miami. Their right tackle, best right tackle in the country, was dominant with an 87 pass blocking grade. We're going to take him and shore up the right side of that O-line for the Cardinals. I know it's not a sexy pick at 3, but they did it a couple years ago with Paris Johnson. I believe he went 6th overall to the Cardinals, but they fell in love with their guy then, and I think they're going to do it again with Mauigoa here. I don't think that's too high for him, truly. So, all right. Moving on to pick number 4. Now, the Titans need a lot of things. Now, you could look at their roster and probably add any skill position player, or even like a guy like Jeremiah Love into the backfield would not be a bad pick as a blue chip prospect. You could easily add a wide receiver 1 to Cam Ward and give him a true weapon, a true wide receiver 1, which in this case I would go Jordan Tyson. However, I think the ceiling of Ruben Bain as a pass rusher and just as an overall edge rusher in the NFL is elite. I think he is the best pass rusher in this draft. I think he should go top 3, and we're going to take him 4th overall here to the Titans, who need a defensive end. Back-to-back Miami Hurricane players. We saw how dominant that front 7 was in the playoff run. We saw what they did to Ohio State. We saw what they did to A&M and Ole Miss, and they even were close enough to knocking off Indiana. Bain is going to be a star. I think he's got future NFL star written all over him as an NFL edge. So, again, I wouldn't be mad if the Titans took Jordan Tyson or Carnell Tate, a true wide receiver, to pair with Cam Ward. I do think that would help Ward's development. And I think my first mock a month ago had Tyson at 4 to the Titans. So I wouldn't be shocked if we do end up getting that, but I am going Bain. I think they can. I think there are wide receivers elsewhere in the draft that Tennessee can add. So, okay. Moving on to number 5 now. New York Giants. So a lot of people are going to tell me to not make the specific pick that I want to make here because this player is a safety and they're going to tell me that positional value, overthink it, you don't draft safeties that high, and then we just saw what Kyle Hamilton has become in Baltimore. So what I'm getting at is I think the Giants should take Caleb Downs 5th overall here. I think he's arguably the best player overall in the draft position, like regardless of positional value. So I think this guy is a blue chip prospect. I think he's a future Pro Bowler. I think he's a floor raiser in the defense for a secondary. And I think a Giant secondary who needs help, who needs safety help. I think it's the perfect pick. I would not overthink it. This guy's been the best safety in college football for 2 seasons now. Caleb Downs going to be a stud in the NFL. I would not worry. Like, he's one of the few guys I would not worry about not being good in the league. Like, I just think he's elite, man. His speed, he can even do punt returns for you. The other position I could see him adding is wide receiver. However, I do think with Malik Neighbors coming back, they should focus on the secondary. I think the talent Caleb Downs possesses is too good. I don't think he should fall past 5. If he does, that's insane, in my opinion. So, all right. Moving on, pick number 6 here. So, the Browns either need to go wide receiver or offensive tackle here because that was one of the worst wide receiving cores I've seen, and it was also one of the worst offensive lines I've ever seen. So I personally think receiver is more of the first priority, and you should get a true wide receiver 1 here. And specifically, the guy I like is Jordan Tyson from Arizona State. I think this guy has wide receiver 1 type of energy, main character type of energy. He's a showman. He's a star out there. He loves the spotlight. He loves the attention. He loves the media. His brother plays in Cleveland for the Cleveland Cavaliers. His brother is Jalen Tyson, older brother, small forward for the Cavs. Already plays in Cleveland, also a stud athlete. So I think the Cleveland Browns should add his brother right now. Get them both into the city. I think this is a guy who wants to be the best. He wants to be a true wide receiver 1 in the league. He's a real difference maker on the outside. He was Sam Levitt's safety valve every time he threw it up to him. Guy can jump out the gym and go get any ball. Ball tracking skills are elite. This is a guy I think is going to be a stud the next level. Trevor has him as his wide receiver 3. I would have him as my wide receiver 1, but I understand why these 2 guys, Tate and Lemon, are up there as well. I think the Browns should add Jordan Tyson, and it's the perfect wide receiver 1 to add to their receiving core. So, there you go. All right, moving on to number 7, Washington Commanders. Now, they need to get younger on defense, and they need a true pass rusher, a true edge. And this guy got very close to Ruben Bain level of good this season with a 21.6 pass rush win rate. Believe Ruben Bain's is 23% pass rush win rate. So slight edge to Bain, who is also a year younger. But man, the production this guy just had, the season he just put out at Texas Tech, he's a top 10 pick, and I'm even calling him top 7 here. I think the Commanders would be wise to add David Bailey to their front seven on their D line because they need help. They need help right now, and they need a true tone setter on the edge, and that is David Bailey. All right, number 8, the New Orleans Saints, who are in need of wide receivers to help their young quarterback Tyler Shuck, or should I call them the New Orleans Buckeyes, who they love to draft. We know they've drafted tons of Ohio State Buckeyes through the years, especially that receiver. They're doing it again. We're going to add Carnell Tate to this receiving core with Chris Olave. Obviously a team that once had Michael Thomas way back in the day. The Saints love their Buckeyes, and they're going to add another one. This guy can be a true wide receiver 2 at the next level. I don't know if Tate is a 1, but he will be the perfect Robin to Chris Olave's Batman on the Saints receiving core. A former Buckeye as well, can show him the ropes. I think it's a great fit on that offense, and I think it's a perfect receiver to give Tyler Shuck, who was phenomenal down the stretch of the season, who really impressed me, and is going to be their quarterback, their starter for all 17 games next year. So I definitely think you got to get another receiver in. I wouldn't be mad about Jeremiah Love here too, because Kamara's getting old. I know Alvin Kamara was the lowest graded running back according to PFF in 2025. So I wouldn't be mad if they added Jeremiah Love. However, I do think their love for Buckeye receivers will come into play here, and I don't think it's ever a bad idea adding Carnell Tate to a receiving core that already has Chris Olave for a young quarterback. So, okay, next team, however, number 9, moving on to the Chiefs. This is the team that I think is going to draft Jeremiah Love, and the rest of the league is going to have to deal with it for the next decade. And it's going to suck for all of us because he's going to be the Chiefs' next stud. I know he's not a receiver like Tyreek Hill was, but that's the type of athlete this guy is. That's the type of speed this guy has as a running back. Jeremiah Love going to the Chiefs at number 9 overall. It'll be unfair for Mahomes. That's just an unfair weapon to give Mahomes when he gets back from his ACL tear. We don't know when that will be, but I think this guy is going to wreak havoc on the league for the next decade on the Kansas City Chiefs. And he's the running back they've been missing for almost a decade now. So, all right. Number 10, Cincinnati Bengals, my hometown Cincinnati Bengals. So if I were drafting for the Bengals here, if I were Duke Tobin, I know what I would do. I would take Sonny Styles because I think he's arguably the best player, the best linebacker in the draft. We talked about Arvell Reese earlier. I think Sonny Styles is a better pure linebacker for what it's worth and better at the position today. Graded better, had better production for Ohio State. However, Reese was the better pass rusher and has better sack totals and projects better physical tools that translate to the next level. Again, I would take Sonny Styles here, and which is why I know the Bengals are not going to take Sonny Styles because they'll never do the pick I want them to do. Because why would they do that? So the most Bengals pick I can think of here is taking defensive or interior defender Peter Woods from Clemson. A solid overall defensive tackle, a high floor, maybe not the highest ceiling type of player, but a good defensive tackle who was steady at Clemson for multiple seasons on end there. Put up good numbers, graded out well according to PFF. That defense quit on each other at Clemson, and I don't think I wouldn't read too much into his final season versus his previous 2 seasons at Clemson where his production was better on the D-line. I just think it was a lost season this year for Clemson. I wouldn't read too much into it, but I think this helps the interior defensive line. Obviously, TJ Slayton was not the answer for the Bengals at D tackle, so they need to shore up their defensive line most definitely. They could be losing Trey Hendrickson, so I wouldn't be surprised if they went edge here. However, I just knowing the Bengals and knowing how they like to draft defensively, I could see them taking Peter Woods here at number 10 from Clemson, which it's not a bad pick. It's more of just like a high floor, safe pick versus Sonny Styles, who I think could be like a ceiling raiser potentially. So, okay, moving on to pick number 11, the Miami Dolphins. Now they need help in the secondary, specifically at cornerback. These 2 guys here, Mansour and McCoy, are CB1 and CB2. One of them did not play this most recent year, and that was Jermon McCoy. Now, his 2024 tape is better than Delane's 2025 tape. And I believe he's a year younger, true junior, better size, speed that translates better to the NFL. I think McCoy is still CB1. I think he's the best corner in this class as well. Delane is very close. I'm giving a slight nod to McCoy. Now, I understand if you don't love drafting a corner coming off an ACL tear. I understand it. Delane just is coming off a phenomenal season at LSU, had a 90.5 PFF grade, 90.7 coverage grade. I thought McCoy was better in 2024. Obviously, 87 PFF grade, did not play at all in 2025. However, the news was that McCoy would have been able to play had Tennessee been closer to the playoff hunt, and if their season went a little better and made it to the playoffs. The rumor is Jermon McCoy was healthy and available to play, but did not. So take that as you will. However you feel about drafting corners coming off an injury, an ACL injury, science is much better than it used to be. ACL tears are not as damaging as they once were to athletes. So I personally am not as worried about it for McCoy, and that's why I would still take him over Delane. But to each his own. I totally understand if the Dolphins took Delane here, because he won't last many more picks. So, all right, number 12. Now, the guy I want the Bengals to take here is the guy who Jerry Jones is going to absolutely fall in love with on draft night. He's going to see Micah Parsons' tools and see Micah Parsons 2.0 and Sonny Styles now. He's not Micah Parsons 2.0. No one really is, but he might be the closest projectable player to it in this class. So I think Jerry Jones will see Styles and fall in love with him as a player. Like I said, I think Styles is the better pure linebacker today than Arvell Reese is, and I would probably draft Styles higher, but I know the NFL is much higher on Arvell Reese's than I am. So, Sonny Styles, you are a Dallas Cowboy. There you go. All right, back to cornerbacks. Now back to the Rams, who specifically need corner help. That was apparent and evident in the playoff game, the NFC Championship versus Seattle. That was truly their only weakness. I mean, you look at across the roster at the Rams, they do not have a weakness almost at any position. And I wouldn't say their corners are bad, but they're not like, it's definitely not their strength. I mean, you got guys like, you got Kobe Durant and Darius Williams are okay players, but they're nothing special on the outside. So this is where I would take the guy we were just talking about, Mansour Delane. I love this pick for the Rams. This is the exact style corner that they need in their secondary. Nice physical, strong corner standing at 6 foot, 190 pounds, Mansour Delane. So good pick for the Rams. I think it helps their secondary, which is the only weakness on their roster. And they have another first-round pick, which is scary for the rest of the league because they may have the best team in the NFL next season. And we saw that they just came closest to the Seahawks and the Eagles, who are the most recent Super Bowl champions. So could be shaping up for one final Super Bowl run from Matthew Stafford next season. We'll see how it works. So see how it goes. All right. Moving on to the Baltimore Ravens. Now, Ravens fans know what they need and they know what they want, and it's either going to be an edge rusher or a wide receiver. They have yet to find a truly impactful edge to really set the tone on the defensive line. They were looking for some last year with Mike Green, and obviously didn't have the best season, but still young, still a rookie. So I think wide receiver is a bigger need personally because DeAndre Hopkins was 33 and I believe is a free agent, and Zay Flowers is truly the only difference maker they have for Lamar Jackson. And coming off the season he just had, and with a new coach coming in and questionable offensive play calling down the stretch and Lamar not being his best, I think you really need to add another wide receiver here for him. I think Lamar would thank you for doing this personally, and I think Mekhi Lemon is the guy to do it. So he just was the Biletnikoff winner for the NCAA's best receiver in the country. So had a phenomenal season. Lemon is my wide receiver 3, but there are some who believe he's the best wide receiver in this class. So It's a perfect pick for the Ravens and Lamar Jackson here. Okay, moving on to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So speaking of Trevor Sigma, he would be mad at me if I didn't give them and the Buccaneers fan that he is, he would be mad at me if I didn't give them an edge rusher here, which they desperately need. And I think that's Cassius Howe, the next guy he's got on his big board. Keldrick Falk is more of a project. This guy's a little younger, insane size. I believe he's like 6'7", just a freak athlete, freak tools as a pass rusher. Cassius Howe had a dominant season, though, for A&M. Just a dominant season, 12 sacks, 81 PFF grade. We're going to add him to that defensive line edge rushing core for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Trevor, I hope you like that pick. So there you go. Now the next pick is for the Jets here. So moving on, pick number 16. We're still not going to go quarterback. You can't make me do it. I'm not going to do it. A lot of people are going to want to go quarterback. New York, you are so far away. You don't ruin another kid's life. Don't need to add another one. You need to add weapons. You need to add weapons here too. And I would argue Garrett Wilson is your only receiver worth anything in your receiving core. You need to add some other studs so that when you do eventually add the quarterback of your future and the franchise QB in 2027, I hope, he's ready to go and has some weapons that he can actually throw to and has some playmakers that can win on the outside. This could be a little high here to take this player. However, there's some guys very high on Denzel Boston, 6'4", big, strong receiver here. I think it's a solid pick for the Jets and honestly what they need in that receiving core. And I think Denzel Boston could be a high ceiling player on the other side of Garrett Wilson. Again, I would not worry about adding a quarterback this year if I am the Jets. I think you are so far away. You should tank again next season and worry about getting a top pick in 2027 where the quarterback class will be far deeper and far better. Okay. Moving on to the Lions here. Number 17, Detroit Lions. Now, they need help on both lines here. They need help in the trenches, which is kind of crazy to say because 2 years ago, that you would have never said that about the Lions or a Dan Campbell team or a Brad Holmes team. But they've kind of not really attacked the lines in quite some years because they've had a good O-line and this has been keep getting older and older. And the D-line, obviously you had Hutchinson there, but they haven't really added anyone else. And obviously Marcus Davenport is as old as he is. So I am worried about the O-line specifically, though. I know the interior was not good. However, I still got some hope for guys like Tate Ratledge and Christian Mahogany there. I am more worried about the left tackle side and just the tackles in general. Obviously, you have Penei Sewell, the best right tackle in the NFL on the right side. You never have to worry about that. But I'm worried about eventually having a left tackle, and their analysts, their scouts telling me that Caden Proctor has like future NFL Pro Bowler level tools. And this guy is a dancing bear. This guy is massive. This guy is 6'7", 366 pounds. Also plays wide receiver for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Caught a couple passes. I don't know if you witnessed those plays. And literally picked up like multiple first downs for them as a receiver. Insane. An incredible athlete for a 6'7", 360-pounder. I think this is a perfect Dan Campbell player to add, and I think this is exactly what they need on the offensive line, and I think this shores up their future. This is a project, but I think this guy is going to be an NFL star and a Pro Bowler someday. That is Alabama tackle Caden Proctor. I'm sending him to the Detroit Lions. I think this is a great pick for what they need to rebuild the O-line that is getting older. Taylor Decker is questioning retirement. That is also a rumor going around that he may retire. And if Decker does, you're going to need a new left tackle. So Caden Proctor, I know they've talked about Penei Sewell coming over or switching over to left tackle, which was his original position at Oregon. You know, you can do that. You can look into that and possibly add a right tackle. Fano would be the guy to do that if you're going right tackle. Left tackle would be Proctor if that's the route you're going. So, All right, that's all I got on the Lions. Moving on to the Minnesota Vikings now. Now, Minnesota's in an interesting position because we still don't really know if J.J. McCarthy's the quarterback of the future or not. They spent a lot to get him, or pick 12, and he did not deliver, and he has not delivered in the first 2 seasons. Obviously, first year was injured. Last season was not great. However, I don't think they've given up on him yet, and I would not give up on him yet either. I would worry more about the secondary and the cornerbacks that you need, because it feels like Minnesota's need help in the secondary for years. The only other pick I would debate here, if you're not going to go corner, this is potentially a Ty Simpson scenario. Now, that is not a rumor I've seen, or I've not really heard many people talk about that, but this could be a Ty Simpson landing spot if I've seen one, because we know how good Kevin O'Connell is with developing quarterbacks. We know how good he was with Sam Darnold, who honestly is kind of a decent comp for Ty Simpson. That's kind of a decent projection, similar style QBs. But that's just keep an eye on that one. Keep an eye on Minnesota for Ty Simpson, because I could see them adding him to compete with McCarthy and kind of letting the best man win the job and going from there. And I wouldn't hate Ty Simpson on that offense at all. I mean, anytime you have Justin Jefferson as a receiver, it's pretty good. That's a pretty good start. So, and they have a good O-line as well. So good offensive play caller with Kevin O'Connell. So just keep an eye on that. I'm not drafting that year. I'm not mocking that pick here, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see Ty Simpson in this range for the Vikings. I am going cornerback, like I just said, though, specifically a guy I have a lot of faith in, who has family genes as a star cornerback from his brother, A.J. Terrell, former Clemson Tiger cornerback as well, Falcons star corner. Avion Terrell, you could see the production, you could see the PFF grades here and how he's done in his career. This guy projects to be a stud corner at the next level as well. I think he's just what the Vikings need in their secondary on the other side of Isaiah Rodgers, who really came on strong this season. Avion Terrell is my pick for the Vikings there, what I ultimately think they'll do, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Ty Simpson. So we'll see. All right, moving on, pick number 19. Now, the Panthers are a fun team, and they're coming off a really fun playoff season, a season where they almost were very close to beating the Rams in that playoff game, which I don't think a lot of people expected that game to be as close as it was. So, really fun season for them. You could continue to add weapons for Bryce Young. You could continue to add wide receivers here. There's not really a wide receiver I love personally at pick 19 for them. Especially with Jalen Coker coming on strong down the stretch. In the second half of the season, Coker was fantastic for them, so I could see him filling that wide receiver 2 role beside Tet McMillan. So I'm going to go defense here, and specifically defensive line. Caleb Banks is a guy who is coming off a really strong Senior Bowl. Heard a lot of great things out of Mobile on him. And Trevor Sikkema thinks this guy is going to be the first player from the Senior Bowl drafted, so we'll see if that does come true. Caleb Banks, number 19, defensive tackle from Florida Gators, going to Carolina Panthers, shoring up the interior of that defensive line, which definitely needs help. I could see them going pass rusher and edge. Keldrick Falk or TJ Parker could be picks here as well, but I think Caleb Banks is the safer pick, and regardless of positional value, I think he's going to be the better pro. So, all right, next pick. Number 20. So, speaking of star pass rushers and speaking of Keldrick Falk specifically, I think this is another prospect that Jerry Jones is going to see and fall in love with when he looks at the tools and the projection. Obviously, Falk had a much better season in 2024 with 9 sacks versus 2 in 2025, better grades. But look at the size and stature, 6'6", 285. This guy's a project for sure, but the physical tools he possesses and the talent is elite as an edge rusher, and he's so young too. I believe he's the youngest, one of the youngest edges in the class as well. So I think Jerry Jones is going to come into this draft and see Sonny Styles and Keldrick Falk and try to recreate a Micah Parsons-like player out of the two of them. So that's what the Cowboys are adding with Keldrick Falk. And I think Jerry Jones is thrilled with that first round. We talked about the Cowboys needing to improve their defense. They did it with Quinnen Williams and Kenny Clark in the season, and after the Parsons trade, they're chasing that recreation of Micah Parsons. So we'll see if they can do it with Falk and Sonny Styles. So, all right, moving on. Pick 21, Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, the draft is in Pittsburgh, and a lot of people think this could be where they're entering a new direction under a new head coach with Mike McCarthy. Obviously, we know Mike Tomlin stepped down, and we don't know who the quarterback will be. So there are some people who predict the Steelers to draft a quarterback, specifically Ty Simpson here, and add him and make him their franchise QB. However, I think if that's the plan, I think that's kind of just redoing the Kenny Pickett experience from a few years ago, and that might be disrespectful to Ty Simpson, and I'm much higher on Ty Simpson than I was on Kenny Pickett coming out of college. So I think Simpson's a way better prospect than Pickett was, but I would still not reach for that. I don't think Simpson is the type of plug-and-play quarterback that's just like fits the type of offense they run in Pittsburgh, especially when they don't really have any receivers still. They only really have DJ Metcalf. Adam Thielen retired, and obviously MVS, the age he was, is not the answer long term. So Metcalf is really the only receiver to write home about. So one of my favorite receivers in the class, that is who I am specifically adding to this receiving core for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They need a slot guy. This guy can do both. This guy played, I believe, 200 snaps in the slot and then 200 snaps out wide as well. That is KC Concepcion, stud dynamic receiver from Texas A&M. This guy was an absolute weapon for Marcel Reed. I believe he had like 900 receiving yards. Just dynamic weapon, dynamic athlete, fast, can get open underneath, can get open outside as well. I think he's a good pass catcher that the Steelers really need because they've kind of missed on some receiving picks in the past few years. This is kind of one that helps their receiving core. Sure, it might be a little high, but it's not high to me because I think KC Concepcion is an absolute stud and going to be the real deal as a slot receiver, but can also bring some other stuff as well. So, all right, that's all I got on Pittsburgh. I could see them taking a quarterback. I would not. I have heard that they are somewhat high on Will Howard, and Mike McCarthy wants to bring Aaron Rodgers back for another final year. So that is what I think they do. I think Rodgers does one final year, and they try to develop Will Howard for the future, and they see what he looks like and see what he has. That's what I would do over just drafting Ty Simpson. So, all right, moving on, pick 22, Los Angeles Chargers. Now, this might be the least shocking pick of the first round besides Fernando Mendoza. So, other than Mendoza going to the Raiders, this might be the least shocking pick is Penn State guard, interior O-lineman, Olava Vega Ioane. I think I just said that right. Olava Vega Ioane. I think I got it right. I hope that was right. We'll call him Big O. Penn State going to Los Angeles Chargers, who desperately needs help in the interior line. We just saw what it looked like in the playoffs against the Patriots. We just saw Justin Herbert running for his life all season. Yes, there were injuries. Sure, the both tackles were injured on the outside and missed the season. The tackles will be back. The interior line still needs help. You need a left guard, you need a right guard, and you probably need a center too. So this helps the start right here. Left guard, Big O from Penn State. All right, moving on. Philadelphia Eagles, pick 23. Now, if we know anything about Howie Roseman, we know he loves drafting Georgia Bulldogs, and we know he loves drafting defensive players. So I don't know if this was probably the worst Georgia defense we've seen in the past few years, and obviously the Eagles have built a Super Bowl winning defense on that with guys like Jalen Carter and, Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean, Keely Ringo, Nolan Smith, just to name a few. There are no prospects of that level in this class specifically. Like, there are no Georgia defensive players who are on that level of prospect. However, I do think CJ Allen is the best of the bunch here. And I'm not saying that Howie's only going to analyze Georgia prospects and draft them, and because that would be silly, but I do think it is a recipe for success, and I do think it keeps working for them. They are losing Nakobe Dean, I believe, to free agency. I don't think they'll be able to retain him. This guy, CJ Allen, kind of plugs in as a Nakobe Dean light type of player. I think that's who the Eagles are going to draft. Helps shore up their linebacking crew. And next to Zach Bond, who is arguably the best linebacker in the NFL, one of them. So TJ Allen, another Georgia Bulldog. Howie Roseman gets another one to the mix and continues reloading on that Super Bowl-like defense. So CJ Allen is essentially Nakobe Dean's replacement, former Georgia Bulldog. So one Bulldog to the next. So, all right, number 24. Now, this is the Cleveland Browns' second first-round pick of this draft. Now, the first draft we added Jordan Tyson, wide receiver 1 for them. I said in the first pick, you either got to go tackle or wide receiver. Now, we did wide receiver. Now we got to go tackle. Specifically on the right side, this is kind of a perfect pick if this guy is still available. I don't know if Fano will be here available, but if he is, you have to sprint the card in because there's not going to be a better value pick at number 24 than right tackle Spencer Fano from the Utah Utes. This guy is on par with Francis Mauanoa. Honestly, I know Mauanoa went 3rd and Fano falls all the way to 24. That's kind of just what it's like for offensive linemen sometimes, and specifically tackles, depending on just position of need for teams. But there's not much separation between Fano and Mauanoa as offensive linemen. Neither of them gave up a sack. Fano gave up 5 hurries all season long with an 84 PFF blocking grade. So that would be a home run first round draft for the Browns if they can get Jordan Tyson at 6 and then Spencer Fano at 24. I wouldn't be surprised if they flip-flopped them and took a tackle higher at 6 and then a wide receiver at 24, but they got to come out of this first round draft with a wide receiver and a tackle, in my personal opinion. So, all right, pick 25, moving on to the Chicago Bears here. Now, the Bears' offense is built, and I don't think they need any more help on the offense. That is what they did attack the past few years, and specifically through free agency for Caleb Williams on the offensive line last year, and they're good to go on offense. Now, they just need a little more improvement on the D-line, and I think this is a great pick for specifically pass rusher. They had one of the lowest pass rushing grades in the NFL. I think that's where now my mock draft a month ago had Caden Proctor to the Bears. I am flipping this to Caden McDonald to the Bears. I am flipping this to TJ Parker, edge rusher from Clemson, to the Bears because I think they specifically need more help on the edge. On the edge of their defensive line, and specifically pass rushing versus the interior. So that is where we're adding TJ Parker to help out Montez Sweat on the other side of the line, on the D line. And I like this pick a lot for the Bears. I think they're really shoring up that defensive line, and they're making a run for the Super Bowl next year. So, all right, moving on to the Bills. Now, the Bills is tough because you could look at their defense and say, oh, well, they need help everywhere. Like, they're getting older on defense. Their linebackers are not great. They've never really had, Joey Bosa is their best pass rusher still, like, at this age. So it's not great in 2026. But I just think not giving Josh Allen wide receiver 1 all these years and not really help. Like, they signed Josh Palmer, didn't really help much last year. Brandon Cooks is old. He's almost like 33. So Khalil Shakir is their best guy, but he's a slot weapon. So Kincaid is good, but he's a tight end. I think they need to give Josh Allen, they need to keep taking swings at receiver for Josh Allen. You got to keep taking swings at wide receiver to find one that helps Josh Allen to get him a true wide receiver 1. The best guy. So here on the board, Chris Bell is the top one available on the big board. I personally like Omar Cooper a little more. I think he has a higher ceiling, can jump higher. I think he's a better athlete than Chris Bell. Chris Bell has a little more straight line speed, but I think Cooper can go up and get it a little more of a contested catch guy, better with contested catches. And I think that's more what Josh Allen needs. So we are going to add Omar Cooper to be Josh Allen's wide receiver 1. It's a little high now. That is a swing of the bat for sure, but if that hits, like we all saw what Cooper looked like and the talent that Mendoza was throwing to on the outside between Surratt, Becker, and Cooper. Cooper would be the first guy I would draft this season out of the three of those guys. Obviously, Becker's not draft eligible. Surratt is I would say Surratt is a little higher floor, lower ceiling. Cooper, I think, has the highest ceiling of them all. So that's what we're adding for Josh Allen. It's more of a go big or go home pick. I don't know if Cooper will ultimately rise up into the first round, but I think he's a stud, man. I think that's kind of like a high ceiling play, and you're giving Josh Allen a weapon, and you're really helping him out there with that pick in mind. So, okay, moving on. Pick 27 now. Now, the San Francisco 49ers experienced more injuries than any team I've ever seen, pretty much. So, especially on the defensive line. So, we do know Joey Bosa is coming back, so he's their star edge defender. So he'll be great and will help undoubtedly help their pass rushing numbers and get their defensive end numbers will be back to stabilize to more normal next year. I think they still need help in the interior defensive line as well. Alfred Collins was a rookie, and they're extremely young on the D-line. Alfred Collins didn't have the best rookie season. I think he can still improve, definitely. But this guy, Caden McDonald, I think is too good to keep falling even higher, even further than we have him already. So we're going to add him to the Bears here. So to the 49ers here. Get another Ohio State Buckeye next to Nick Bosa, former Buckeye. Caden McDonald, I like this pick a lot, shoring up the defensive line and just kind of throwing darts at the wall for San Francisco on that edge or on the defensive line specifically. So, okay, number 28, Houston Texans. So, Texans are a weird team because their defense was incredible. I mean, they had the best second to the Seahawks, of course, but arguably the best defense in the NFL, and they don't need any more help on that. You got Daniil Hunter and Rankins and Will Anderson on the line, and the secondary is insane as well with Lassiter and Stingley. And one of the true only questions is if C.J. Stroud is really the guy or not and can hit that projected ceiling he once had as a rookie. So that's kind of the only question, but they got to give Stroud more help, and they got to give him more time to throw back there. The offensive line was dreadful this season. It's one of the worst in the NFL, just absolutely devastating, and they need to shore up that line, and they really need to just add all the talent they can to the offensive line. Specifically, Caleb Lamu here, who is the left tackle across the other side of Spencer Fano. What a dominant offensive line that the Utah Utes possess this year. They possess every year, but Caleb Lamu, left tackle of Utah, we're adding him to the Houston Texans line. Obviously, you had Alante Ursere, who was a rookie, and then Titus Howard is actually getting a little older on the left side, but this just gives him more talent to work with on the offensive line and can help give C.J. Stroud more protection and more time to throw back there, because it was not pretty in the final playoff game against the Patriots. So they were just getting eaten alive back there. All right, pick 29. Now, this is the pick where I had Ty Simpson originally a month ago. I guess I'll spoil the fun. We're going to take Ty Simpson again. I don't have too much other analysis other than this is Stafford's replacement, and this is kind of the legacy plan for the succession plan for Matthew Stafford, if you will. And I think that would be the perfect quarterback to add for Sean McVay, unless McVay decides to retire too, but in the near future. But I think getting a replacement for Matthew Stafford and getting his successor that he can learn from, kind of like Jordan Love did with Aaron Rodgers, is a smart plan. It's honestly a very smart plan for the Rams. And I think you're any quarterback you're adding to a receiving core that has Puka Nacua on it, I mean, that's going to help the QB instantly. So not a bad plan, not a bad succession plan. I think the offense would really fit Ty Simpson and what McVay likes to do and have his quarterbacks do. So that is where I like it. I don't think Simpson will fall out of the first round, so that's kind of why I ultimately have him here. I could see him going higher, could see him going lower, but I think if if he's there at 29 and the Rams are on the clock, they should think to the future and plan ahead and take Ty Simpson. So, all right, pick 30. Now, this has been a popular pick that I've seen a lot of Broncos fans make, and like a lot of Broncos people draft as Kenyon Sadiq. So, tight end 1 in this class, the only tight end going in the first round in this class, a former Oregon Duck, just like Bo Nix. They only threw. I actually went back and looked it up. I think he only threw like 1 or 2 passes to Kenyon Sadiq. So Sadiq was a young freshman, and Bo was kind of like the Heisman guy that year, the Heisman contender. But Broncos need a tight end. They need another guy for Nix to throw to there, and I think it fits perfectly. This is kind of one of those like sprint the card in picks, I think. For the Broncos, I think it's a great pick and helps get Bo Nix another pass catcher to throw to. So I've seen this pick a lot. It's pretty common, so I wouldn't be surprised if this is the one we get on draft night. Obviously, Evan Ingram is currently the tight end in Denver, getting older, of course, so could shore up, get a younger guy for sure, add in there. So, all right, moving on. So pick 31. Now, I didn't really have a specific landing spot for this guy in mind, but this is a player I just could not let get out of the first round because of the dominant playoff run we just saw. And that is the edge defender from Miami across on the other side of Ruben Bain. That is Akeem Mesidor. I think this guy is going to go in the first round. I think he showed enough on tape to lock in a first round spot. I think he's too good to fall out of the first round. That's why I'm taking him here at pick 31 to the New England Patriots, who still need help on the defensive line. I know they have a great D-line, but specifically at pass rusher, can kind of use a little more help in that to add some more edge defenders into the mix. So I love this pick. I know he's 25 years old. Mesidor is 25 years old. I know that's kind of going to be the issue on draft night, where a lot of teams don't want to draft him because he's that old. I think he's too good to fall out of the first round. So that is why I've got Mesidor going to the New England Patriots and improving an already good defensive front. So there you go. All right, last pick of the first round to the Super Bowl winning Seattle Seahawks. Now, this is one of those picks where it's like you just want a Super Bowl, so you don't really have a need. You don't really need to specifically draft anything. This is kind of a good value pick here, but this is a prospect. This is one of my guys from a school that I am a fan of, where I'm originally from, the Toledo Rockets. So Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, this guy is my safety 2 in the class behind Caleb Downs. I think this guy, the size this guy has as a safety, the athleticism he has, I know he dominated the MAC, but this guy looks every bit the part of, similar to how Quinion Mitchell projected to the next level coming out of Toledo a few years ago. And when the tape matches the stats and the production and the PFF grades, that's when you know you're good to draft guys like this. I think this guy's going to be a stud in the NFL. I'm taking Emmanuel McNeil-Warren to the Seattle Seahawks to help improve their secondary even more, just adding a safety to the mix, to an already loaded secondary. So, boom, that is all I got. All right, so as you can see, here is the first round mock. So that's all I got. Finish it up. I will post the final mock below and do a Substack on it. But yeah, that is all I got for you guys today. Pick 1 through 32 here going for you. Happy Mock Draft Monday. This was the Mitch Mock 2.0. Again, we'll have a guest on Wednesday. That'll be Mike Renner from CBS Sports. We're going to preview the NFL Draft Combine next week in Indianapolis, and I will hopefully be in Indianapolis for the Combine. But Mike is going to come on Wednesday to preview the show, or to preview the Combine. And that's all I got for you guys today. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe to The Point After with Mitch Kaiser. and hope you guys have a great rest of your day.